in our environment, and I know in other environments that you'll hear, Six Sigma, you'll hear all different types of things. And back when we started, we didn't necessarily have the label. I don't know that we needed the label to be, quote, a problem solver. So who should be one is really the question. And within the book, if any of you guys have seen or looked at the book, the Toyota engagement equation, the equation has E3 or E cubed in it, as you can see now. In the true Kaizen fashion, I've kind of, you see E4 there in the PowerPoint. And so you want to think about every day, everybody engaged and empowered to solve problems in their daily work. Now, think about key performance indicators. So KPIs, those are things around quality. Those are things around safety, cost, productivity or lead time. And we had a fifth one that was around human resources or morale, people development, kind of the people side KPI. So we looked at our KPIs from what we call a micro viewpoint, which was our individual daily work, as well as the kind of the macro viewpoint. And a little bit later, we're going to show you a slide about that and how that kind of fits from what I do individually to what and how do I contribute to the organization's true north. So KPIs are very important to cascade kind of up and down, so I know that contribution. So the next point in the slide, it talks about vertically and horizontally. So if you think about vertically in an organization, that's the CEO or your president, the person at the top, down. And when we say down, that's not a bad thing. It's our daily workers that are actually contributing the most in their work. The PPO, which we call the primary process owner. We own a process, we develop the standardized work on that. And then horizontally, when we're going across the organization, those sometimes are called silos. Folks call those silos. So that can be human resources, it can be accounting, it can be payroll, it could be maintenance, it can be R&D, it can be manufacturing itself. All of the different functional areas that create our output, our service that we provide. It could be a widget. We're creating something, physical, like we were a car. But it can be invisible. It can be IT. It can be software. It can be behind computer screens. We're developing. It's inside of something that we're looking at. So not everything is visible, but we do own our process. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So we look at everybody having a responsibility of problem solving, and we really want that to become intrinsic. And what I mean by that is, we talk about A3, and that's kind of the 11 by 17 size of paper that we often document our thinking on. And so through Gemba visits, the Go See, and the Gemba, the Japanese call that where the work is actually happening, the actual workplace. So we go and see the work. Now, again, it could be physical, I can see it easily, or it's material and information flow behind a value stream in a computer, the day in the life of a document or a work order or a software development or anything that's inside the computer that I'm looking at. So a Go See helps me to learn the questions that I need to ask, because our trainers would talk about us as our responsibility in our daily work is to contribute to our own job security. And when I first heard that, I was like, wow, that sounds powerful. That goes back to the E4. That is empowering me to make a difference. Because if I feel like that I own my process and I help develop the standardized work in it, and I'm contributing to the Kaizen, the continuous improvement around that, and I'm able to measure that through the KPIs we talked about, then I'm looking at that contribution to job security. I'm actually working to help my own job security for me individually and for everyone in the company, and that just creates long-term growth and sustainability.
Yeah, so a couple other points I'll add to this is, first of all, when we look at problem solving, there's kind of two different categories of problem solving. The first being we problem solve the processes to become stable. And many times people confuse that with firefighting. And firefighting has to happen sometimes, but we have to be able to problem solve to get our company or get our processes to where they should be. And not yet can we expand, but right now we need to get to where we should be. And then the second level is then we problem solve to improve. And what that means is we're where we should be. Now let's go ahead and move forward and become better. And so what we see many times is people want to problem solve for improvement when they can't even problem solve to get stable. And so it's really important to understand we want to be able to become stable, as Tracey talked about, using the KPIs to tell us where the problems are, to show us where the gaps are. The second point I'll make is, when we talk about lean, really the concept of lean is, this kind of the secret's continuous development of people. And that is the foreground. That is the requirement for anybody to become lean. It has to be continuous development of people. But the second piece right behind that is we have to love problems. And what that means is our company really has to look for problems and say, we have a process for fixing problems. What we see many times is they don't want problems, and many times will hide the problem in order to be able to move on, but the problem keeps occurring over and over again, which then affects their safety, quality, productivity, output, even their branding sometimes, and we don't want that. So one is we have to be able to love problems or want problems. And even if when we get to the point where we have no problems, that's the biggest problem of all, right? That says that we're as good as we can be. We can't improve. But our KPIs then come in play, and we challenge the KPI to say, okay, let's make the KPI more difficult, and therefore we'll create more problems. So we have to love problems. Problems are our friends, actually.